attitudes. That's what we started out with, our attitudes of being. And whether it is, as Ernest Holmes told us, toward a real unity with spirit. Are we really feeling connected to the great I am, to the unity of God itself? So specifically this morning, we are going to continue to look at the 8 attitudes of being. So we have the 8 Beatitudes. And these attitudes of being were taught by that great Jewish religious scientist over 2,000 years ago. And we began looking at them two weeks ago. So we did the first 4, and I'm just going to really briefly go over them in a bit. One of Jesus' most famous teachings is found in what is known as the Sermon on the Mount, which opens with these 8 Beatitudes. So even people who don't know too much about Judaic, Christian philosophies and religion might be familiar with these 8 Beatitudes. But whether we know what they are and what they really mean, that's what we want to get to the meat of today. What do they mean? How can we use them practically in our lives? How can we really use these? And it was beautiful, Brian's reading, because it's giving you a real life situation that just showed the grace and the meekness and the humility and the love that people can hold in their heart. And that is living these teachings. So for the master teacher that knew, he knew that if our attitudes were in alignment, our lives would be flowing, they would be good. Everything else would be right in our life too. In alignment means in connection with divinity, with the unified state, unifying ourselves with the state of connecting with that higher power, connecting with God. That's being in alignment. If our attitudes are out of alignment, that is wrong thinking. If they're out of alignment, then nothing else in our life will be right. It won't flow. So if we want to be in the flow of life, which we're always talking about, want to be in the flow of life, we have to be in alignment with spirit. So today we're going to look at the second 4 Beatitudes, or attitudes of being. Those play on words, right?
I love it.
Beatitude. Okay. Looking deeper into these words, as I said, than just using them and going to maybe the metaphysical interpretation of what? The spiritual metaphysical interpretation of what they could be. So if you remember last week we did the divine sacred feminine, celebrating the sacred feminine. But the week before we defined blessed. And blessed in Webster's dictionary means to invoke divine favor upon. So to invoke divine, so that's what blessed means. And why do we do this? Do we do this to make God happy? I think not. You don't have to make God happy. God is joy, right? So we do it, one, because it aligns us with the universal harmony. They align us with the infinite flow of life. They align us with the innate goodness of the presence of spirit. And spirit, for those of you who might not know, spirit, divine intelligence, God, the great I am, are all names for this higher power that is the creator of all that is, was, and ever shall be, in this unity that we practice and celebrate here, this unity of life, which is so beautiful. So beautiful. And that's why divine favor is called upon. Because remember, if our attitudes are aligned, then we are in the flow. We are in the flow, and everything else will be in the flow in our lives. When we're out of that alignment, like I said, the things in our lives will be out of alignment too. So we're going to quickly review the first 4. And now you'll remember them. If you don't know what the Beatitudes are, you can remember them now. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. You might have heard this. And so what we meant by it 2 weeks ago is that heavenly bliss is invoked upon, blessed, right? upon us, even when we set aside preconceived notions that prevent us from connecting with our source. So that means that we're rich in blessings when we get out of our own thinking, out of our own way. 2, blessed are they that mourn, for they should be comforted. Inviting us to allow our troubles to take us to a place where we can more deeply experience the presence of God. And our troubles can take us there. Get into that later. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. So this teaches us that we are manifestors. We manifest. And we manifest by this meekness. And if you remember, we described meekness as being open-minded, as having faith in God, of knowing that this is power of good that is always for us, that always is giving of itself to us. That's what meekness really means. It's a good thing. It's a good to be meek. It doesn't, it's our interpretation of it. The 4th one is, blessed are they that hunger and thirst after righteousness, one of my favorite words, it's all over the Bible, for they shall be filled. So what is righteousness? What is righteousness? Right thinking. And that's the thinking that is in alignment with source energy. When we're in alignment and we're in that place of peace, where that woman who lost her son or her husband, when we're in that place, then we're in alignment. We're open, we're receptive, and we're forgiving. And so if you weren't here 2 weeks ago, we do have a YouTube channel with the video on it. So you can watch the video where I go into detail with those first 4, because we're going to go into the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Okay. We're going to explore the other 4 Beatitudes today. Blessed, and they are, blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God. And blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And then as I was doing this talk, I added one. Blessed are the flexible, for they shall not be bent out of shape. Sorry, I had to have a little laugh. We don't have to go into the exploration of that one. It speaks for itself. When we get back to the master teachers. I'm not the master teacher, I'm just the messenger. So, blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Right? Emmett Fox, who I based, this is the book that I based this talk on. He wrote this incredible book about the Sermon on the Mount and keys to successful living. And he says, as it stands, this beatitude calls for little comment, because the words employed bear the ordinary meaning which we give them in daily life. And its meaning as the law in question is as simple and inflexible in its action. This beatitude is about this beatitude, okay, this one here, blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy, is about the law of cause and effect. That's what it's about. What we give out comes back to us. What we sow, as perfectly in your song, what we sow we shall reap. What we are to the world is to us. Truly, truly. What goes around comes around. This is the law of cause and effect. So that's what it's talking about. So the more that we are merciful, the more mercy we shall receive. So, is there a deeper place to go with this beatitude? Of course there is. So we'll touch upon it. The thing that really matters is that you be merciful. Not just in your deeds, but in your, most importantly, in your thoughts. And Fox writes on that. Kind actions coupled with unkind thoughts are hypocrisy. They are counterfeit, and they bless neither the giver nor the recipient. Why? Because we can't fool Mother Nature, right? Remember that commercial? Those of you who are, looks like most of you can remember it.
I've heard about it.
So the law that we talk about, you know, the immutable laws, the laws of cause and effect being the main one, is activated by our consciousness. That is our thoughts, our feelings, our values, our attitudes, and then finally our actions. So our thoughts and our actions must all be in alignment. And our feeling state must all line up together, be in harmony, and to effectively create. And that's what we do through the law of cause and effect. We're always creating, either consciously or by default. So when our emotions are aligned with our thinking, with our heart, with our values, and with our actions, then we can really manifest. Then we can really reap what we sow. Then we can, if we sow those seeds of goodness itself, that's what we're going to reap. But we have to think it and feel it at the same time. We can't think one thing, well we can, and you'll see what happens, and then feel another. So that's basically what that one is. So as we sow, we shall reap, and that's how we are blessed. We are blessed. We invoke the divine favor upon us. The divine favor which is always upon us anyway. The second beatitude, the second one in this series of 4. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. The words used in this beatitude are used in kind of a technical sense and cover a far wide meaning than what's attached to everyday life. So to look at the promise to see God, to see God. To see God means to have a spiritual perception, a spiritual connection, a spiritual understanding of this higher power. To see God is to feel God, to feel that divinity within them. So you see people close. That's why Stephen closes his eyes when he performs. He's in the presence of the divine when he is performing, and you can feel it come forth. You can feel it come forth. So look at this promise to see God then, and know that when we use this capacity to comprehend the true nature of being, most of us will find that, if we really are in that flow, we will absolutely manifest in clarity. We'll manifest in that deep understanding of this power for good. But most of us walk around and we're not. We don't have that relationship. So this is the time to cultivate it, the pure in heart. The pure in heart. We live in God's world. We do not in the least know it as it is. Heaven lies all around us. Heaven is everywhere. It's not just a distant place somewhere far off in the skies. It's all around us. But because we might be lacking in spiritual perception, we fail to recognize it. We fail to recognize the heaven that is all around us and that truly is within us. That is, we are unable to experience it. To experience heaven right here in our human experiences, in our hearts, in our hearts. This is where we experience the divine. We're like fish who ask, where is the water? That's what. Isn't that a great analogy? Well, like fish who ask, where is the water? We are in the middle of God's creation. We're in the middle of heaven right here and right now. We're in the middle of it. It's all around us. But we're not aware of it. So that's why we come together, to have these talks and to do the classes and to have all this wonderful spirituality so that we can remember who we are and that we do create our experiences. We really do. To see God is comprehending truth as it really is. And this is the place where we feel the infinite freedom. We feel freedom. We feel the peace. We feel the bliss, if you will. We feel being in the flow. So this wonderful beatitude then is where we are told exactly how this supreme task is accomplished and who they are who shall do it. They are the pure in heart. If you're holding resentment, if you're holding anger, if you're holding any kind of lack or fear in your heart, you are not pure of heart. So, again, we have to understand that the word pure must be taken in a much wider kind of description than we use it in our everyday humanity. So it's free of all of those feelings of lack, limitation, anger, resentment. It's in its pure, full, complete sense. Purity. It's the purity and recognizing that God and I are one. That God and I are one. But truly there is no separation. There is only this unified power. That's all that truly is. And when we cultivate that and we deepen our understanding of that, that's when we can feel the purity in our heart. And Jesus speaks of the pure of heart, but the word heart in the Bible usually means our mental subconscious. If you think about that. Our mental, and in psychology, our mental subconscious. And this is exceedingly important for us to understand because it's not sufficient for us to accept the truth just in our thinking alone. And you know, this is where the thoughts all take place, you know, up here. We're learning this in our Prosperity Plus class, to use our faculties. Our faculties are so much higher. But anything below the neck, below the neck is where our emotions lie, where our heart consciousness lies. It's where our heart and the divine lie, all in this whole subconscious of our being. So when we get that all cleared, well, we keep clearing it. It doesn't ever, I don't think it fully clears out. So we keep working on our old ways, our old habits that don't serve us, and bring them up and clear it out so that we can feel the peace. And then the mind can have those thoughts of peace and connect with the peace that's in the heart, which is where divinity lies, it's where God lies. Most people have all kinds of knowledge and facts up here. We know lots of stuff. We know lots of stuff. But it's head knowledge, and it's not enough. We need heart knowledge as well as head knowledge. So head knowledge and heart knowledge together. Then we can see God. Pure of heart, we can see God. That's how we see God. So this beatitude could be paraphrased to read then, blessed are they who recognize God as the only real cause, and the only real presence, and the only real power, not merely in a theoretical or formal way, but in a practical and specific and wholehearted way in all of their thoughts and words and actions. So the pure in heart really means unifying with our divine nature. We all have one. We all have a divine nature if you didn't know it. Each and every one has a divine nature. So it's for us to explore. This is a beautiful adventure. This is where enthusiasm is. This is where excitement is, because we have so much good in our hearts. And that's the pure of hearts. We can see God, because we can feel God then. We can feel the great presence. Then, and only then, can we be blessed. So the next one is, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the sons of God. So if we looked at this beatitude casually, we might think it is more of a religious generalization when the peacemakers spoken of in this beatitude are those who first make bringing about true peace in their own souls, to be in that place where there isn't conflict, where there isn't unforgiveness, where there isn't the anger, to be in that place of peace. That's the place. We can't give away what we don't know, what we don't feel. So it's a wonderful, wonderful place to arrive at, the place of peace in our lives. What a wonderful, magnificent place to co-create from, a place of peace, a place of well-being. If we don't have peace in our hearts, then the love, the joy, and all of those other wonderful attributes and qualities cannot be experienced. Peace, always first, for me anyway. I just really, peace. And this beatitude too. So, as long as, like I said, as long as there is fear or resentment, it blocks that flow. And I know that for myself, that until I attained a place where I can feel that deep, abiding peace, that can be, circumstances go on in life and they throw us a little, but if we have deep peace in our heart, then they don't last long and they don't really disturb the peace. They might throw us off in our thinking. They might knock us through a loop a little bit, but if we have that established peace in our heart, and that's that connection with the divine, then we have given ourselves the gift of true stability, of true connection, of true alignment. So the peace then, we can't be peacemakers until we are peace, till we live peace, till we experience peace. So Fox writes on that. Those who bring about true peace or serenity in their own souls, it is they who surmount limitation. So then to be a peacemaker in the world, we must feel peace. We must be peace. We must be peaceful. And I was, oh goodness. All right, I had a really interesting drive here this morning. Driving in, it's a beautiful day out. The sun is shining, everything's vibrant with colors, and everyone's walking. Thousands of people are now on this I don't know, marathon walking thing. So the cop car has the road shut down. So I said, oh, Margaret, you just did that talk on peace. So I had to go back to peace because I had a few choice things. But you came here. So I have to do a U-turn, and I do the long way around. And that's fine, okay. I got myself really back because I'm centered in peace. My mind went off for a second, just a second, nanosecond. And then I drive, and I'm coming down 41, so I'm making this turn, and this driver behind me honks their horn. And I'm like, oh my God, that always startles you, right? And I turn around, and she gives me the finger. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm from New York. But I was very proud of myself. That took a couple more seconds to go back into the piece, and I said, okay, I'm being tested. I must be being tested here. And I thought, well, that's a really violent. It's really like, now that I'm like more into peace, like not my old New York self that would have reacted a little differently. I'm like, that's really violent to give someone the finger. I mean, that's really like violent. So I got myself right back into the piece, and I said, okay. So again, it's for us to remember and to use. So my whole little adventure here this morning that took like 40 minutes to get here on a 20-minute ride was really a lesson in being a peacemaker. So I just smiled at her when I passed her the second time. The first time I was in shock. So I smiled. It's just, this is how we can be the peacemakers. Little things like that, and then bigger things, especially when you're dealing with relatives. That's when we really get tested. The people we really have to be in a relationship with, unless we choose differently. But so to be a true peacemaker and to be really blessed, it is up to us to be the peace for us. So finally, blessed are they, or those, who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Now that's a little startling. In view of what we know about the essential teachings of Jesus, that the will of God is harmony, peace, and joy, love, that these things are to be attained by cultivating right thoughts. Righteousness, remember, righteousness is a good word. It means right thinking. Righteousness means right thinking, as we learned 2 weeks ago. So this could be a very startling statement. So Jesus tells us again and again that it is His Father's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. And that's the way we are to receive it, by cultivating our serenity, by cultivating the peace in our soul. So he says that the peacemakers who do this, praying in meekness, and remember that means open-mindedness, faith in God, shall obtain prosperity, shall inherit the earth, and have their mourning turned into joy. And in that fact that then whatever we ask of the Father then, it is the Father's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. Yet we are told in this beatitude that we're going to be persecuted for righteousness, right? So what does that really mean? How do we triumph over that? So Emmett Fox suggests that what Jesus wanted us to understand is that the source of all this persecution is none other than our own selves. Do we not persecute ourselves? Do we not tell ourselves of all the things that are wrong with someone else, with ourselves, with all situations? We prosecute ourselves and persecute ourselves relentlessly sometimes. We really do. And remember that all relationships take place within you. Even though it looks like it's that guy over there and that woman over there and those people over there, all the relationships, because where's your emotional responses to these relationships? They're in you. They're not in someone else. So we persecute ourselves with wrong thinking, by that judgment, by that really harshness that we can have about ourselves. So if we're persecuting ourselves for right thinking, see? So that's where we got to get a little clarity there. It can be an extremely fortunate and blessed condition actually, because it's when we go through some of those really dark nights of the soul, when we go through some of those places where we are really challenged, and then we turn within and we turn to that higher self. We all have a higher self. We turn to the higher self and we ask this higher self which is connected with the great I am. And then this is where then we can get our greatest awakenings, our greatest information, by going through it, and at the same time that we're going through it, ask for guidance. I of myself can do nothing. So as we're persecuting ourselves for whatever we're persecuting ourselves for, we can always turn to the place of alignment again, knowing that there is a power for good that is always supporting us. So it can be a great blessing because it deepens our understanding of God. It deepens our understanding of a higher power. So we're going to find ourselves in constant battle with our lower selves, our human self. So we have a divinity within us, which is our true self, right? It's our true self. That divine self is our eternal self that cannot die. So that is our true self. And we're having a human experience. So as we have this human experience, we're going to persecute ourselves. So we can be blessed as we turn to the great I am when we're going through this stuff. That's the persecution that they're talking about in this beatitude. So the last 4 beatitudes are, I'll just say them real quickly. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Cause and effect, right? Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. And finally, blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And I'm going to put all 8 of these in our next newsletter. If you want to read it, you can open it. I can see who reads it. So I'll put all 8 of these Beatitudes in there if you like. But I want to conclude this 2-part lesson because it really is, I think it truly is important to understand metaphysically, which is beyond physical, which is in a spiritual light, what these teachings are, so that we can use them in our lives, so that we can be practical with them. You know, I like to say that because it's the truth. If we can't use this stuff, right, what good is it? It's of no use to us if we just believe in a dogma, just in rote belief, without actually understanding and using it. Use it. Make it mean something to you. So I'm going to read this. I want to finish with what Emmett Fox writes in his book, Sermon on the Mount. And it offers a challenge. He says, if you really wish to alter your life, if you really do wish to change yourself, to become a different person altogether in the sight of God and man, if you really do want health, peace of mind, and spiritual development, then Jesus in his Sermon on the Mount has clearly shown you how it is to be done. The task is not an easy one, but we know that it can be accomplished because there are those of us who have done it, he writes. But the price must be paid, and the price is the actual carrying out of these principles in every corner of your life and in every daily transaction, whether you wish to or not. And more particularly, where would you rather be? So that's the challenge. If you are prepared to pay that price, to really break with the old and start with the new, to live in a more peaceful, flowing, joyful way of being in your life, it is your choice. That's the actual, it comes down to that. That's the actual only great truth there is. It is your choice. It is your choice. We have been given choice. So the study then of these Beatitudes, these attitudes of our being, which is what they are, can be your mountain of liberation. You can experience freedom. Freedom from all the old stuff that doesn't serve you. If it serves you, great. You can experience a greater unity, a greater oneness. And you connect deeper with your relationship with Spirit. So unifying with God, the divine, the great I am, right, is truly the greatest blessing. It is the greatest blessing we can invoke upon ourselves and that we can give to others in our lives, in our experiences. So that's for each and every one of us.